the unluckiest girl in the world. Her mother passed away before she turned 8, and during school, she was constantly bullied by her classmates. This led her to nervously pull at her hair whenever she was anxious, to the point where her hair started to fall out. Eventually, she had to wear a wig to cover up the damage. At a school dance, a few mean classmates publicly yanked off her wig, making her the center of attention for the night. But that moment would become a lasting, painful memory for her, an ever-present shadow that haunted her. Ryan finally managed to graduate and get a job at a company. However, she quickly realized she was practically invisible at work, to the point where her boss didn't even notice her sitting there when he threw his jacket down. She had essentially become the boss's personal coat rack. Luckily, Ryan had been through a lot of tough times since she was young. Little things like this no longer fazed her. She'd just get angry for a few seconds, then brush it off with a small smile. But what really shocked her was that her co-workers treated her like air, completely ignoring her existence. One evening, while waiting for the bus, Ryan unexpectedly ran into her ex-boyfriend on the other side of the street. Deciding to bury the hatchet, she waved hello, only for him to completely ignore her as if she weren't even there. She was left questioning everything. She got on the bus and tried to call her sister to chat, but her sister read the message and didn't reply. Fortunately, Ryan had a father who loved her dearly. She brought him some delicious food during her visit to the hospital, where he was being treated for a serious illness. However, when she called out to him by his bedside, he didn't respond, which terrified her. Had he passed away? Just as she was about to rush to find a doctor, she realized it was just a prank. In his attempt to make it more convincing, her father had even unplugged the pulse monitor. It had felt so real. Once she saw that he was okay, she breathed a sigh of relief. She then took out the bread she had bought for him, cutting a small piece to make it easier for him to eat. But to her horror, after he ate it, he began to choke. Panicked, she ran to get help, but just as she feared, by the time the doctor arrived, her father had choked to death. After handling the situation at the hospital, Ryan stood there, stunned and bewildered. How could she be so unlucky? She had come to visit her father and somehow ended up being the one to cause his death. Suddenly, if she had just been a little slower, she would have had to say goodbye to him one more time. One misfortune after another. It was all too much. At that moment, her anger reached its peak. A dark seed of resentment began to grow inside her, and she couldn't help but fantasize about taking revenge on everyone who had wronged her.